My name is Maia Brodie. I come from Orkney and I'm 20. So growing up, my dad was in the military, so I bounced about kind of Wales and southern England before moving back up to Orkney. In Orkney, currently, I work at a local youth cafe and I'm running for council. I want to run for council because I think that youth engagement is a really important issue that is being widely ignored. I think that bringing in kind of fresh new perspectives is vital to the future of our islands, and also because I think that there's a lot being done that isn't being done because the council's kind of stagnated in some ways. The same people have been on in the council for such a long time, and if you don't get new people in, you're going to have it's just going to become an echo chamber. There's a broader sense of community and it's a lot more close-knit on the islands. I mean, it varies across our isles. I think that mainland Orkney is losing that sense quicker than Hoy is, but the kind of individualism isn't so rampant on the islands as it is in particularly England. I was from South England. Like, South England was the worst for just an individual mindset. You know, it doesn't take a village to raise a child anymore. It just takes a mum and a dad in one house. Even in my lifetime it's changed, let alone in the kind of last 50, 100 years. Community has been so important to me in my lifetime, and I think that community is the future of our islands. One of the real draws about island life is the sense of community you have, the sense of closeness that you have and the relationship you have out of necessity. If we lose that, I think that the island population is just going to carry on declining because it is one of the major draws. Something that I've taken is even Hoy is losing its sense of community a lot slower than the mainland, as in mainland Orkney, and even slower than mainland Scotland. But Hoy's sense of community kind of hangs in the balance, and also how passionate kind of the younger generations, especially my generation, is to bringing back that sense of community. We really do miss it, and even we notice it, and we want it to change. Every single person here has spoken about how much they miss how it was even when they were a child, let alone how kind of the older generations tell you it was when they were kids, you know, 50, 60 years ago, the amount that's changed. And I think that it really has opened my eyes to the fact that it's a very common feeling in the younger community to want to revert, in some ways, not in every way, to how our grandparents lived. The closeness that you have with your community and the connection you have with your community and the kind of rural feel and the more circular economy. I think one of them would be the Hoy Development Trust taking on ownership of a lot of the kind of the ruins here. They do it with, I think they only have a couple, but if they took on more of the ruins and either sold it or rented it to people, kind of in the way that the £1 houses and the really cheap villas you can get in France, kind of like that, rented them out to people, specifically younger people, people wanting to start a family, rented it out to them under the condition that it is rebuilt and retrofitted to fit in with the local community, but also to be energy efficient. There's massive problems across all the isles, but Hoy definitely with fuel poverty. Orkney is leading the way in the development and the kind of the creation, and we're a testing pot and a world leader really for renewable energy, but we are not benefiting from that. I think that all of the isles, but Hoy as well, would benefit from cutting the green levy. Just people cannot afford to heat their houses. If people cannot afford to heat their houses, people will freeze to death, and it is disgusting that in such a developed nation that is happening. You know, I went to school not on Hoy but in Orkney, and the narrative is you either go to university or you go into your parents' agriculture, particularly farming business. We spoke to some young people who said that, oh, well, I'm not smart enough for university, so I have to work in the farm. Like, I'm just gonna work in the farm. They really wanted to do fashion and textiles, but you don't do that. You go to university, you leave, go to university, don't come back. Or you farm and then your child will leave, go to university and don't come back. And I think just educating children, putting it in their brain from a young age that you don't have to go to university. I never went to university, and I'm doing fine. Alternatives, like different careers, teaching more about apprenticeships. The narrative, it is changing. It is better than, school these days does teach that, but not to the extent that it needs to. I quite like the views, but the people are the best thing. Everyone is just so passionate and they care so much about their community in a way that most communities don't. There's a real kind of closeness. You wave at everybody, you say hello to everybody. If someone's out in their garden, you can't walk past without having like a 2-hour-long conversation. The views as well, it's gorgeous. It's stunning. There is literally not even a single house. If there was a house, I wouldn't be able to afford it. I want to go into the council. Do councillors make enough money to save up to buy a house? No, not at all. There's a reason why it's mainly old people. It's because they have worked their whole lives and now they can afford, they have a house, they've bought their house. It's housing, it's the economy. There's not the houses. The houses that are here are exorbitantly expensive. I think it is very similar to the barriers that any young person anywhere in the country faces, is that there aren't the houses, and the houses that do exist are too expensive. I turned the custom house into co-housing, kind of intergenerational housing, that older people who maybe couldn't live by themselves but still have quite low support needs, or maybe that could live by themselves but just dislike the isolation, that they can live with younger people. Because the younger generations, I don't think that there is the resistance that people in power expect there would be to younger generations living with older people. I'd happily live with an old person. They have such knowledge and experience and stories to share, and they want to share it, and we want to hear it. I wanted to come along to the Youth Hack because I think that I have a lot of ideas. I have the privilege of having grown up in multiple places, that I know of things that have worked in other places that could work here. And I grew up here. I speak to people here, I speak to young people here, I speak to people from the mainland, from people from their outer isles. And we know what we need, we know what we want, we just need to be given the time and the place, and have the importance placed on our opinions and our knowledge of the local community. My ask to the local council would be, there's a narrative in the local council of, well, we have these grants for young people, for local communities, but people just don't want them. People just don't access them. We have unlimited funds, or we have an extensive amount of funds that just sit there. Well, have you tried contacting anyone? Well, no, but they haven't contacted us. Or, yeah, but they don't care. I doubt that's true. People do care. When fuel poverty is so rife, people are not going to say no to funds that can really help them and change their lives. It's just the fact that these funds are hidden. I think that having a lot more openness about these funds, and kind of amalgamating them all together, and having one place where people can see all these funds, and just listening to young people. You have to go to young people and talk to them, because they don't think that you care. Young people do not think that the council or the government or anyone really cares about their opinions. And if you don't do that, people will become increasingly disillusioned in politics and will refuse to vote. The amount of people that I've come across in my campaigning that go, oh, I would, but they just don't care. And it's true, because if they did care, well, they care to an extent, but it doesn't matter whether or not you care. What matters is it's impact over intent. If you say, oh, I care about the young people, but you don't do anything for them, I don't care that you care about us. It's useless to us. Unless that is followed with tangible support and tangible help, then you can keep your care. We don't need it. My ask to the Scottish Government would be, I think youth engagement is a really important thing. Devolution further to local councils and then from local councils to local communities is vital. I think that people get tired of a certain level of bureaucracy from some places of government. One of the things that a lot of islanders, and a common narrative among the Isles and even just the north of Scotland in general, is that the government's too central belt focused. Now, the Islands Plan is a great thing. It doesn't go far enough. We know it doesn't go far enough. A lot of people, it's a really common narrative among the Isles, and even just rural areas of Scotland in general, that the government is too central belt focused. You need to come out more. It is great that the occasional minister will come out here, and we are very thankful for that. But unless you actually show us how this changes anything, if you just parade a minister around, it doesn't help us. You need rural areas to sustain cities. If everyone lived in a city, Scotland would be a miserable place. You want to champion Scotland's beauty? Actually help us, tangibly support us, give us more funds, stop ring fencing the funds. That is the major one. When I speak to people who are in the council, they say that the ring fencing is ridiculous. In the past 7 years, it has been slowly increasing the amount of money that's ring fenced in the wrong places. We don't need ring fenced money. If you don't trust us with non-ring fenced funds, why are you giving us funds? What is the point of devolution if you're still going to decide what we do with it?